Okay. Um, it's so funny. I feel like I should just hit start at the beginning because now I feel like I'm doing this like weird introduction and like we've already started talking.
I know, but I think, okay, can I tell you my take on that though?
Yes.
Is I feel like we have a little secret, like that we
Mm,
get the secret energy at the beginning that gives us some buoyancy, and that what gets recorded is actually meant to be recorded, and
yeah,
what's not is actually truly meant just for the two of us.
I love that. I
And
love
I think
that.
it would be fun if they heard it, but they'll never know.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. Heidi, first thing I want to say is just like I'm so grateful for your grace. So, for everybody watching this, Heidi and I connected last year in like August, September, somewhere around there. Heidi had published an episode of us having a conversation around October, and then I had a season of just hermiting and like disappearing. And I essentially kind of ghosted her, to be
I
honest.
didn't feel ghosted. I just want you to
I
know that.
love that. I love that.
Like, you keep going, and then I'll tell you
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I
So
really thought.
yeah, from my perspective, I was just like, and I had the way that I use my email inbox is like a to-do list. So I keep things in my inbox that need my attention. As soon as whatever it is done and dealt with, I file it into a folder so that it's
Cool.
just like not taking up my mental space. And so I had an email from you or your assistant or somebody sitting in my inbox. And every time I went into my inbox, I was like induced with anxiety because it was this thing that was left unfinished and like needed my attention, but I didn't have the energy to give it my attention. So it just like, I just started spiraling. So finally, I what was it? Was I had like insomnia or something, and I emailed you at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, so I'm in a season right now, and I was in that season for months.
Yeah.
For months. So finally around like January I started to rev up again, and then in February I was like, okay, like let's go. And even then I think I still kind of tried to rush my process a little bit because I was over it. I was
Yeah.
like, hey, like this is fucking months now. Like let's get this ball rolling here.
Mhm.
So yeah, I got myself set up or whatever, and then I like came out of the woodwork and I was like, hey, remember me?
You're
But
so
the
sweet.
grace that you gave me, Heidi, oh my gosh, like we need more of that in the world. So I just want to start this off with just immense and eternal gratitude for you and your energy. I feel like we are in such a society that has been groomed to expect immediate response
Mhm.
and immediate action, and to like completely sacrifice your energy and your well-being to like get the thing done, to like show up.
Yes.
And I've definitely been in that energy, like I used to almost pride myself in saying, like, if I say I'm going to be somewhere, like I have to be on my deathbed to not show up.
I know. I know.
And now I reflect on that and I'm like, wow, the amount that I would sacrifice myself to
Mhm.
just show. And that all stemmed from like my abandonment issues, and like I'm fully aware of where everything came in from, but it's just wild. So yeah, just wanted to put that out there, that
I love
I'm very
that.
grateful for you.
Well, thank you. And so, can I give you my perspective on how that
Yeah.
all went down? There would have been no opportunity for grace had you not told me the truth,
Yeah. Okay.
because I wouldn't have known,
Yeah.
right? I think the truth and grace are a package deal. I've never said that before, but I really think that's true.
Yeah.
Because when I got your email, it was like, oh shit, I just want to, like I was excited, but there was also such a vulnerability, and also you told me the truth. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't some bullshit like I hate you. I don't want to. Well, I mean, if that was the truth, I'd want to know that too. But there was this. You have a self awareness, and then you communicated it to me. And so, if you and I can't do that for one another, like, how are we gonna cultivate that in the other areas of our life, right? Like,
Mhm.
I would have hoped that if I had come to you with the same thing, and I think it would be true if I'm like, dude, I'm just not feeling it.
Yeah.
You'd be like, yeah, I totally read your chart, and of course you're not.
Yeah.
I can't hide shit from you anyway. You've seen my human design chart. But I do think the truth and grace are a package deal. And so for you to trust yourself enough truly
Yeah.
to identify how you were feeling and then tell me the truth, grace is for me, the very natural next step. I was curious to see if you would reach out again. I was really happy when you did.
Yeah.
Because you were on my list of like, okay, I'll reach back out. But I follow what you're doing on social. I'm like, yeah, we're not talking in December.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's how wonderful to know your natural rhythms, to trust it. Um, and if we can't do that as CEOs of our businesses, then we're just repeating the bullshit paradigm that we're all trying to explode.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Wow. Thanks, Heidi. That's so cool. I
Yeah, thank
appreciate
you.
that.
Thanks for
Yeah.
telling me the truth.
Yeah. Sometimes the shit I post, I'm like, oh, that's so cringy. Like it's so cringy because I truly try to share an unfiltered lens of
Yep,
my life.
yep.
And I actually had this realization last night at like 2 o'clock in the morning where I was like, I think it's so cringy because we don't see it.
Yeah.
It's so far away from what we're used to, from what we see in these online spaces, what we see on social media. It's so outside of the norm that that's why it's cringy. But is it actually cringy?
Mm,
Is expressing human emotion, is expressing human vulnerability. Like why is that where we go?
yeah.
And I think that is really powerful. And I think maybe something I take for granted is that like I don't want to say vulnerability is easy for me because it's
Mm.
not, but I think
It's like maybe
maybe
non-negotiable.
natural. It's
Yeah.
very uncomfortable.
Yeah,
But
or
honestly,
non-negotiable, where
pardon
it's
me.
like non-negotiable,
Yeah,
like we're doing it. Like
yeah.
there's no other
And,
way.
and that's exactly right. It is non-negotiable for me.
Yeah.
Like I refuse to portray this image that's just not in alignment with what I'm experiencing or what I'm feeling. And I think it's important to share that. And I really hate to parallel it to this because they are very, very different. But something that comes up for me is like the body positivity movement,
Mm, mm-hmm.
right? When we started seeing very beautiful, curvaceous women on the online space,
Yep.
I feel like a lot of us at first were like, oh,
Can you turn that into a GIF, please? What you just did?
you know, because it was so outside of the norm of these like very like thin, women that we were seeing on publications, on magazines or whatever. And now for me anyways, like maybe I just follow it a lot. It's just like I don't find these women beautiful because they are whatever, like, or in spite of either. Like they're just beautiful.
Right. Understood.
Like they're
Yep.
just beautiful,
Yep.
right? So that's kind of what keeps coming up for me is like we didn't see that body type, so we didn't know that it was something we could view as beautiful.
Right.
It's the same thing. We don't see this like level of vulnerability and authenticity and like struggle
Mm.
to see that it's also beautiful. It's also part of the process.
I think in my so I have like 17 thoughts, right? So I'm like
Yeah.
trying to put them in order.
Yeah.
It is one of the things that I love about what I do because in my real world day to day, like in my group program,
Yeah.
that is what is.
Yeah.
So like I do interact with it every day.
Love it.
And so when I see it on the other online, I'm like, I get it.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
isn't, I'm of the mindset, at least in my own personal life, there has to be a little bit of a statute of limitations before I share my rawest raw.
Yeah.
I need to have completed a little bit of my loop before I share.
Yeah.
Otherwise, and because you've seen this, right? This vulnerability at all costs thing is like unnecessary. And I
Yes.
think it can be trauma inducing and harmful,
Yeah.
especially if you're in such a vulnerable position and then you put it out there for people to have their gaze on it, and then their words and their judgments and their
Yeah.
horrible online behavior.
Yeah.
But I think in our it's something that happened for me in my late 30s, early 40s, which was finally being in a community of women where you're not only encouraged to be exactly who you are and belong, not necessarily fit in, but you are encouraged to be exceptional.
Yeah.
Like you get to be exactly who you are, but if we're only ever falling apart in private, I don't think that's the answer either. But watching these women support each other and celebrate each other, um, and be vulnerable, I truly am the luckiest chick on the planet. Like, these women get it, and they what you're saying, I think, is the online
Yeah.
space. But I want to give you a lot of heart that behind closed doors, there's it's an expectation, and we get to have that. And the
Yeah.
more you have real life community where you can do that,
Yeah.
I think the social media stuff, you just are like, meh, that's what it's bullshit, and we all know it. But
Yeah, I was actually having this conversation yesterday or on Tuesday. Someone was like, "Oh, like I don't really social media, like I don't like it." I said, "Well, I think social media, like anything in moderation and what your intention behind it is,
yeah,
right? Like if you're going to the gym because you want to punish your body and you
right,
hate your body and you ate that cupcake and all of the things, like the
yep,
intention behind that, like that needs, we need to do some work around that,
right,
right? But if your intention is, I want to go and better myself, I want to go and love my body, I want to go and take this uninterrupted time for myself, even if it's only like 20 minutes, if that's the
yeah,
only 20 minutes I get for myself in the day, I'm going to do that for myself.
yeah.
And I think that social media is a similar lens. Like I don't follow accounts that make me feel like shit about myself anymore.
No way. Mm-mm.
I don't follow accounts where I'm constantly comparing myself to them.
Yeah,
I follow accounts that make me think,
yeah,
that broaden my scope of thinking, right? I follow accounts that make me feel good, if I need a little hit of serotonin or, whatever, like dog videos or anything like that. Like I follow those accounts. Like I follow accounts that make me want to elevate myself and that also show me a truth, but I still feel like that truth is still not quite where I would like it to be.
I think it's important too that I mean, social media for me is how I do a lot of my marketing, right? Like it's a
Mhm.
part of my business. And I've come from like the bodywork space where I never did any social really. It was like I just had a booked out practice because everybody was so local. And shifting from being this body worker to an online coaching space was such
Yeah.
a learning curve. But it also helped me to realize like there is so much good that happens online.
Hmm.
And it I'm a part of that.
Yeah.
Like I feel really proud of how I do social. I feel really proud of the people that I've met. I never would have met you without it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I am acutely aware that I get to talk to people around the freaking world
Yeah.
every week. Like I really am the luckiest person I know. Like I genuinely like
Feel
how
that.
would we have ever in a million years crossed paths
Correct.
if it
Yeah.
happened? And to be in equitable spaces and to be in progressive spaces, but also to like I think that we do get to curate our social media feeds
Yeah.
for us. One thing that you said, and I want to be a little contrarian because I want to see what you say.
Yeah.
So and there's nuance to this as with everything,
Yeah.
but you were talking about comparison. And for me, and inside of our group, we do a lot of comparing. Like it's part of my assignment to them is I want
Yeah.
you to go online and compare yourself.
Okay.
And it's so interesting because when they come back with their homework, it's like, well, who are you comparing yourself to? And why did it piss you off? Why was that so irritating. Why? And
Yeah.
we add the word sacred to the beginning of everything. So why was it sacredly irritating? Why were you so sacredly judging them? And for most women, what it ends up happening is it starts to reveal what your values are.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's
Like that
definitely
one
a
pissed me off
reflection.
because she was unkind, and I value kindness. One of the ones that used to piss me off was Glennon Doyle because I was like, shut up. I was so irritated, mostly because like I could have written that book,
Yeah.
right? Like she's not saying anything no one else is saying, and I was so annoyed. And when I sat with it, it was like, oh, I do want to write a book.
Yeah.
It's not my season to write my book. It's closer than it was, but when
Yeah.
my all of my kids were, I had three under four, not the time to write a book, right?
Yeah.
But when I finally realized, oh, the reason that's annoying is because it's something I want.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I
Does
love
that
that you
make
said
sense?
that. So yeah, like there is a level of like reflection to things that I think you're right. It's a step I missed in my point. There is a level of like reflection. And
And it's also
actually
bullshit where you're like, no, I hate you. Shut up. It's not
right.
healthy for me. It's a generator, no.
But yes, right. But Lori Harder actually posted something once or said something on one of her podcasts or something. There was a space in my journey where I just consumed everything that she was doing.
Yeah, I get that.
But she said, like, I don't view jealousy as a bad thing anymore.
I don't either.
Because when I'm jealous, it just means that there's something in me letting me know I want that.
Yeah.
And if I want that, it means that I'm capable of having that.
And there's already physical manifestation that it's
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
So in our house, I'm going to teach this to you and hopefully you'll find this valuable with your people. But in my house we can't say no fair. Like
Oh,
we don't allow it.
yeah.
And it started because we would watch Wheel of Fortune together as a family, and it was a way for my kids to learn letters, for them to spell. We do a lot of games anyway. They would always get pissed when someone would win a trip. Like if what's her name won the bonus prize and she got a trip to Hawaii, my kids were like, "No fair." And my kids are well traveled. Don't get it twisted. Like they've been on an airplane more in their young lives than I have, right? Anyway, I instead of saying no fair, I taught them to say that's for me.
I love that.
Gifts, everything, and they still use it. They were tiny tots when I taught this to them, but it's a recognition of a desire. No
Yeah.
fair is they have something I'm never going to have. That's for me is forward momentum to like I want Hawaii too. You can want what you want. And you don't have to deny anyone else's experience of getting something awesome. So if you're having a hard time and you need a new phrase, that's for me is super fun. And it's
Oh
not
my
fair.
gosh, I'm
Isn't
obsessed.
that fun? I
I'm
know.
obsessed. That is so good because I'm not gonna lie. I mean, when do I ever?
I'm
But
getting
like,
there.
I have been in a season right now where I'm just like, for fuck's sakes, like, I've been working so hard.
Yeah.
I've been working so hard and I'm still not where I would like to be.
Mm.
And then I see these creators who started long before I did, right?
Yep.
Have everything that I want. And I'm just like, and I know that I've been like energetically cock blocking myself.
I
Like
get
I
that.
know that. You said like you have a self-awareness. I'm almost like annoyed at my level of self-awareness because
Yeah.
like self-awareness is one thing, but then
Yeah.
you actually have to like take aligned action and like do the things and like and when I say do the things, I want to be very clear that like resting is also doing something,
100%.
which is something that I still like struggle with to
Yeah.
just like
It's a skill
not
set.
constantly be on. So in the seasons where my body and my energy and everything is screaming, you need to stop. I'm like, okay, I'm going to try and like honor this as best I can.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that because I was like, I know I'm like energetically cock blocking myself, and I know that I need to shift my language and I need to shift my energy and all of these things. So I love that. I'm gonna experiment with that.
It's so fun. It's
Yeah,
more freeing because
yeah,
it doesn't, you're not restricted.
yeah,
So instead of like they're going on a, 8 month intercontinental experience and I'm in frickin' Wisconsin and it's snowing, it's like, oh shit, that's for me. Like that wouldn't have occurred to me.
Yeah.
And like as a generator, that is the stuff that helps me. So if I'm shutting it down because I'm either jealous or I don't
Yeah.
believe in my ability or that has not been in my experience prior to now,
Yeah.
no, now it's like I follow people who are that much further in their
Yeah.
career or whatever because it's like, oh shit, I want that too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's buoyant. Where you are, the term that we use inside Lead From Within is you're at that sacred crossroads
Yeah.
where it's like, I know what I don't want, I know what I do want, but I want to feel it right this freaking second. Yeah, there's
Like,
like
how do I get there? How do I make that happen for myself? Yeah.
I don't know that
Yeah,
you
I love
make it
that.
happen. Now I have a million ideas. Now I'm like, okay, we need to pause because now I want to strategize. I'm like, I can help you make this happen. Let's do this. But it does matter for you to, I think even the language of like, well, let's use sacredly cock blocking, right? We'll
Yeah.
add the word sacred to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's some level of protection there.
Yeah.
There's some level of it might need to be that way. You might need a little more incubator time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Like every like energetic reading I do for myself, whether it's cards or I read my chart or I read like the stars or anything, it's always like slow down. Slow down, take your time. Like, don't pick the apples before they're ready, because then you're gonna have shitty apple pie and like all of the things. So, like, again, I know, but then I'm just like, let's fucking go. Like, let's get this shit started.
You might be in
So,
Midwest spring right now. I know you said chart wise you're like autumn, but
yeah,
literally out my window right now, I can see all of the buds from this maple tree and it's snowing.
yeah,
And it's happening at the same time. And spring is technically here, but technical spring and like going outside and cherry blossom spring are
yeah,
different.
yeah,
But it's quick. Like this time between almost fake spring and real spring is quick.
yeah,
But there is a level of impatience that I'm
yeah.
sensing.
Every morning. So I every morning I either have a chai latte or I have a matcha latte, and I let my intuition decide because it's like the first decision I make in the morning. So, and it's not a big decision, like it's not life or death, right? But it lets me like turn on my intuition and connect with myself and ask myself, what do I actually want
I
today?
love
Do I
that.
want a chai or do I want a matcha? Then I make the decision, and now I feel like I've gotten that activation. I've like tapped into my intuition. So now that's going to take me through the rest of my day, and I will hopefully make aligned decisions actually connecting to myself. So that's part of my process in the morning. And every morning I do like a little like spell casting almost, where I will either stir my chai latte in a clockwise position and say the things I want to bring in.
Hmm,
Or if I feel like I need to repel some things, I will
cool.
stir it in a counterclockwise position. I say, I release this, I release that, blah, blah, blah. More
Wow.
often than not, I'm in a season of bringing things in. And
Yeah.
every day I start with patience. I
Mm.
bring in patience.
Does it
I
work?
bring in patience. It is, I feel I am more patient now. It is a process. It's a process. Like it is a process.
Can we talk about how you made a two-syllable word a 17-syllable word? It is a process. Like it was so good. Oh, I love you. And it matters, but I'm so curious about this patience thing. Like I got a total intuitive hit on the patience thing
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I think women are so much more patient than
Oh,
we give ourselves credit for. And I think we have so much more patience because maybe we're putting up with a lot of bullshit.
yeah.
Like, is it patience? I don't know. I got an intuitive hit on that. We can maybe talk
For
about it
for
more.
me,
But
it's
I'm so
actually it's
curious.
actually trust.
Okay, yeah.
For me, it's actually
Yes.
trust and it in surrendering to the process. Like for
I have
me,
goosebumps on that.
yeah, for me, it's actually, it's it's patience in my process in learning to trust the
I
process.
love that. I think that's a really good nuance for you
Yeah,
because I do think you're patient.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you
I
for saying
when
that.
you said that there was like an immediate nope. I
Yeah.
don't think and obviously I don't want to tell you that I know you more than you, but there was a like a
But
gear.
sometimes we get in, and don't keep in mind, like I'm a hermit, right? Like I'm a profile too. I can't see myself clearly
Yeah.
sometimes.
And I'm a 1-3, so I'm like,
Yeah.
let's experiment. If
Yeah.
you want, like,
Yeah.
let's try
Yeah.
this out and see. But there was a
Yeah.
gear grind there that I was like, no, honey, you have a lot of patience. This
Yeah.
is we talk about it being the physiology of faith.
Yeah.
And the physiology of faith is the thing that bridges you from what you want and what you have, or
Yeah.
what you have and what you want. I think you've got patience like in spades. I think this is now like the physiology of faith in yourself.
Yeah.
Can I handle it when the universe is like, it's going to snow today, even though I know that you want blue sky?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it's trust or acceptance. I don't know. Now I'm gonna have to journal on it. Now I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
think, ooh, how do we? But I love the spell casting. I've never thought of that. I've never
Yeah.
heard of that. I really like that.
I won't take credit for it. It's from a book that it's from a book that I read. I always put my own twist
Of
on
course.
things, but the initial inspiration was it's a book called the Modern Witch's Guide to Practical Self-Care or
Oh,
something like that. So
that's
I
good.
read
That's
that
like a
in
hybrid.
Q4 last year. Like
Yeah.
that was my goal for this season of off, was what do I fucking need?
Yeah.
Like how can I start putting myself first instead of my business first,
Yes.
instead of like chasing money first, instead
Yes.
of all of these things. I was like, how do I take care of myself? Because I know when I take care of myself, that's when I have the energy to do all of the other things.
Yeah. And you realize what you don't want to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. We talk
remembered what
about
I
how.
wanted to say at the very beginning when I said, you said something, and then I couldn't remember it. But you said something about, you go through a little bit of your process of before you share like your rawness. And something that Brene Brown said in, I think it was Dare to Lead, was that like vulnerability without a purpose is, well, okay, so this is me paraphrasing with like Carolina language, but like vulnerability without a purpose is just like throwing shit in someone's face,
Yep. Yeah.
right? Like you have to be, I don't want to say you have to be, I don't like that terminology, but there needs to be some kind of intention behind why you are sharing this rawness and this vulnerability.
Yep.
Right? Yeah, just kind of wanted to add that in there, that like vulnerability without a purpose is just like throwing shit in someone's face.
Well, I think there's a lot to be said around that. And I think it's we're also not, you don't have to share
Yes.
anything.
Yeah.
Like, I think that there's this, while I tend to gravitate towards those people that show all sides, right? Like, I'm drawn to that. I'm curious how they're going to
Yeah.
share it. And there are some things, that my partner Mike and I have been through that in certain seasons of life is very helpful to share with other women when they're in that season.
Mm-hmm.
But it's something that he and I have talked about, like this thing that we have been through now is medicine for someone else.
Yeah.
Like this poisonous thing,
Yeah.
it was like now it's homeopathy, right? Like now we have healed, we've done so much healing with it, and this story can be medicine, not so
Yeah.
that this person has to fix us, but so that there is an example where they can go, that's for me, right? Wine and
Yeah.
yo back together, where it's like, oh shit, like that can be. But when my babies were new, I would ask for help in my personal pages, right? But on a business level, I wasn't sharing how hard that was.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't have a purpose there
Yeah.
other than I am drowning, someone save me. And that's not what my business is at that time was about.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. Well, but
so
you make
many
a really
gratitude.
good point. Like it also like again, it just comes back to that intention, right? Like
Yeah,
if I were to see my business coach, for example,
yeah,
falling apart on social media, I'd be like,
right.
I love this for you as a person and like thank you for
Yes,
sharing that. But like,
yes,
are you also able to help me grow my business right now? Like are you in that space, right? Whereas for me, like I have the privilege as a content creator
mm-hmm.
that sharing that part of it is the thing.
Yes, it's a process. Yeah,
It's the process,
yeah.
right?
It's
So, but
representation also.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you're right. I think, when you were going through your season with your babies, it might not have been appropriate for you to go on your business page, be like, I'm fucking drowning with these kids right now,
Totally.
right? Because
No,
then
because then they're gonna
clients,
cancel their session and then I'm poor. It's like, no. Book.
right? So
Yeah,
I think, yeah, like
it's nuanced.
everything always comes back to intention for me, and I actually, so like I'm a creator, like every fucking thing that happens I create some. I have so many unpublished captions and like everything, and this one caption that I wrote that really bothers me in the spiritual community is this message of necessity around like tools and practices,
Mm-hmm.
like you have to cut your wicks on a candle or it won't, you have to use certain grade essential oils that I sell you, and I was just like, holy fuck, I'm so sick of this narrative in the spiritual community. Intention matters so much fucking more than the tools or the practices that the spiritual community will try to sell you.
Yes.
This notion of like the coffee thing, nothing, I didn't have to buy anything. Well, okay, maybe the book to like learn about it, right? But like nothing different than I already possessed.
Right.
But the intention that I am now putting in, that I am infusing into this latte, and then I ingest it and then it fuses my cells on a molecular level. I am now putting the intentions of patience and trust and money and community and love and joy and everything that I put into this cup, literally
Yeah.
put into this cup. I then ingest that. That's all intention.
Yep.
There's no extra voodoo I'm putting in here. There's no crystal I'm metastasizing. Like there's like,
Yes,
you know what I'm saying?
I
So
do.
like intention matters so, and I feel like this is a barrier to entry to people who are curious about the spiritual community because they're like, well, I don't know all the zodiac signs and I don't know all the healing crystals and I don't know what all the essential oils do and I don't know what all of the pagan holidays are and I don't know what all of these rituals. You don't need to.
Yeah.
You just don't need to.
Yeah.
Bring it back to basics. What do you want
Yep.
and what do you need to do to have an energetic match to that?
Yep. And that space in between is where that faith and the trust. That space in between is where you get to learn about yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally the name of my program is Lead from Within.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter. I can give you the whole world on a platter of tools, right? Like it's this. I could give it to you in mass,
Yeah.
and if it isn't a match for you, if it
Yeah.
doesn't align with your values, if it crosses your personal boundaries, if it makes you feel like you're not on purpose, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, can you access your own divine intelligence? Can you access your own intuition, which is, in my mind, where God gets you?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
can you go within and be still enough to hear God's voice? Can you witness like the natural world that we live in as a freaking miracle, right? Like,
Yeah.
can you slow down enough to hear that sacred pace? Because there are times where it's like I do need my crystals, and there are other times where it's like I don't, that's not vibing with me. Do I need to take a break or do I need to ramp up? And can you be in such congruence with yourself that if someone said to you, this is what you need, you can go, fuck you, no, I don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
It matters. It matters.
Yeah, it does. I would love to know what season you're in like a word.
Magic.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really do feel like that. I'm hot off of spring break. I'm hot off of like California vibes. I've had a kick ass week where some of these things that have been out there for a while have landed. You know, when you're in that season where everything, it's like you're holding on to strings, but you can't see the balloons because they're so high up.
Yeah.
It's like they finally came down. I'm like, oh, that's what this is. Like I love that season. I know that you can't always have that one, but
Yeah.
man, when I have that one, I like it. It feels magical right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Talk to me in a couple months and I'll be like, oh, it's a little muddy. But magic is right now.
Yeah. What does spirituality mean to you?
The access point to God. Like, I had a colleague of mine say, we are not, bodies with spirits. We're one big spirit with bodies.
Hmm.
And how do you intuit your own? And I was like, God, I love thinking of all of us in this, matrix. And the spirituality, I think, is the essence of who we are.
Yeah.
Spirituality as an industry, I call bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, that's not, no. Spirituality as an essence of like who we are, I'm in.
Yeah. What would you say to somebody who is a little bit skeptical?
Thank you. I think that's great. I think skepticism helps us to define further. Skepticism helps me ground.
Yeah.
So I think I'd say thank you.
Yeah. And what's something you're looking forward to?
True spring.
Yeah.
There's like 3 days here in the Midwest where all of the trees bloom. And when you go on a walk, the air is sweet. And there is something about when that happens, I know the farmer's market is opening soon, and I get to see my friend Farmer Betty. She's amazeballs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Love
spring.
that. Is there anything you want to add or say that you didn't get the opportunity to?
I love connecting like this. I do. I love that I get to do this on a daily basis. I love looking at my calendar and looking forward to what's on it.
Yeah.
And this was worth it. It was worth the wait. It was worth the it was worth our process of getting here. And
Yeah.
I am not a marathoner when it comes to running, but I am a marathoner when it comes to relationships. And so it's like whatever, our first mile, we both needed to rest or we were on different paths and I'm glad they crossed again. So, and if people are interested in learning about Lead from Within, and I would really love people to take a look at what I do.
Yeah.
HeidiMetro.com is the way to connect, but I really genuinely love working with deep feeling powerhouses where it's
Yeah.
like I want to help you unleash that. I want you to take up more space. I want you to it sounds so dumb, but like I want you to roar.
Yeah.
This ride ends, right? Like we're not going to get out of here alive as the saying goes.
Yeah.
So don't waste any more time. Like let's fucking go. And if you want to do that, hit me up because I'd love to chat. I'm super intentional about who comes into my community, like
Yeah.
very mindful of the energy. I'm very protective of my girls in a I'm the first barrier. Is it safe for you to come in? Is it safe for the group? Um, but I think we need safe communities to be
Yeah.
seen. And Lead from Within is that.
1050%.
Yeah.
Yeah. 1050%. Last question. If someone were to take nothing else away from you or from a conversation with you or our conversation, if they were to take nothing else but this, what would it be?
That's for me,
Oh, yeah.
that phrase, I think. Because there's so many examples of people doing really cool things. There's so many creative people on the planet that when we shift to no fair, they lose and you lose. And when you shift from no fair to that's for me, you both win. And that philosophy of win win is like, it infuses my entire life.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something I always like to say is a candle loses nothing by lighting another candle.
Yep. My mom said that to me when I was having my second child.
Yeah.
I was nervous, and I'm the third. So I was like, shit, do you like, can I love another child as much as I love my Noah? And yes, you can. They're just very different brands of love.
Yeah.
But there's also this, like, well, winding it all the way back to the very beginning for us. Had we felt forced into having the conversation however many months ago, it would not have been a win-win.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have even been a win-lose.
Yeah.
It would have been a lose-lose.
Yeah.
I would have You would have lost the opportunity to tell the truth, and I would have lost the opportunity to feel grace.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you show up, you stack the deck. Like, you show up as you need to show up. You stack the deck to win-win. And I don't want to be on the other team.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be on your team.
Yeah. Yeah. No, oh my God, I love that. Yeah. I 1050% agree.
Yeah. And then now you flex that muscle and it went well. And I think that's how you know you're in the right rooms with people.
Yeah.
The content I'm working on right now is like, if you want to know how healthy your relationships are, tell them no and see what happens. And if you're in the right room, maybe with the exception of your children, they're going to
Yeah.
go, good for you. Take all the time you need.
Yeah.
And if you're not in the right room, you'll know it.
You'll know it. Yeah.
You'll know it. Yeah. We could talk forever. I know you have to wrap.
Yeah.
I
I do
appreciate you
believe
so
that.
much.
I do believe that. I feel like we could talk forever. I love
I know.
that.
It's so great. Isn't that
Uh,
great? I love that.
Heidi, you are just a gift to this world. I thank you so much for your grace. Thank you so much for your energy. Again, like I'm a 2-4 profile, right? And I get so comfortable in that 2 of solitude that I forget that I need that 4 of networking. I need that connection with people. And when I connect with the right people,
Yes.
it's just like my soul feels lighter. And you were talking, I think this is before we hit record it, where you were talking about like, can you feel replenished? Like,
Yes.
can you
That's a
feel
thing,
like
huh?
rejuvenated,
Yeah,
right?
refreshed.
Yeah, refreshed, yeah. And for me, that's what conversations with people like you do for me. And
Wow.
and I tend to forget that
Mm.
a lot.
Well, I am here
Yeah.
whenever you want that.
Yeah.
Because as a 1-3, this is how now I have 8 pages of content, right? Now it's
Yeah.
like, it's affirmed other things. I've heard things again. You and I speak the same language, which is very soothing to me, very comforting.
Yeah.
But as a generator, I have to have this. Like,
Yeah.
I have to have the experimentation and the investigating and, like, ooh, what's going to happen? Um, and so I appreciate that you understand who I am. I appreciate that you're willing to show up. Um, and it's interesting when we get stuck in one part of our profile
Yeah.
and we think doing more of that will get us what we want
Yeah.
when it's actually shifting to the next. God damn it. I know. And I will always be that playmate for you. I love a good ping pong match. Like, I love it. So I'm
Yeah.
in. Even if you just text me or like send me an email like, I'm stuck. Like, okay, let's get on. Let's
Yeah.
talk.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Heidi, I love you.
I love you too. Thank you so much for your time. It was so fun.
Thank you.